Morning everyone. Today I want to welcome you. I want to invite you in the world of business studies, grade 12, whereby we're going to start with topic 1, which is all about the eggs. So it's very important to know why the eggs were brought into account. They were brought into account because they were previously disadvantaged people who were not accommodated. So this act were there to make sure that they are going to bring in the solution to those, so that they as well going to be able to be included and as well to contribute into the economy of the country. So now firstly, I would like you to take you to the term and definitions of these acts that you are going to talk about. So now, as you can see, there is a term and definition. So the first act that I would like to talk about is SDA, which is Skill Development Act. Skill Development Act. Skill Development Act, which is SDA, in the business. You'll find that there are people who are employed in the business, but to the business and contributing to with skills and knowledge to do the work. So that is why this act was brought into account, so that it be able to and contributes to our BDA. So there is also what you call skills development levy. Skill development levy. So the definition of it is that it was introduced to ensure that business contributes to the development of skill development of employees. So it simply says that the business are going to be charged. There is a levy that they are going to be charged to make sure that they are going to make sure that the employees are going to be equipped with skills and knowledge. So that is the charge that they are going to pay to setters, so that the setter will give them the grant. That grant will make sure that those people are going to be equipped with skills and knowledge. So they be provided with education as well as training. So that is very important part of it as SDL. Now we have PDIS, previously disadvantaged individuals or designated group. Those are people who were overlooked in the past. Those are the people who were overlooked in the past. They were disadvantaged. They were disadvantaged. They were not accommodated. Then we have setters, which is a sector education training authority, which was established in order to implement and monitor implementation of the Skills Development Act. So when you talk of sectors, there are so many sectors that you can talk about, whereby we can talk about agri-sector, we can talk about food and beverage sectors, we can talk about education sectors. So this Labor Relation Act. So this act was brought into account where we want to make the relationship between the employers and employees. But the definition that we are giving here is this act was introduced to promote simple procedures for the resolution of labor disputes in the workplace. If there are disputes in the workplace, it is with this act that those disputes will be resolved. Then we have collective bargaining. The definition is that is negotiations between employers associations and trade unions partners, such as wages and conditions of the employment. So it means that the collective bargaining simply says that employees will be represented by trade unions, whereas the employers will be represented by the employers association if ever there are some disagreements. So those are very important. There is harmony at workplace. Now we have collective bargaining. Collective bargaining simply says negotiations between employers associations and trade unions on matters such as wages and or conditions of the employment. So that is a collective bargaining, whereby those parties meet and then try to make sure that they solve the problems that happen to take place between the two parties, which is employers and employees. So like we have said, that the employers will be represented by trade unions and organizations. The employers are going to be represented by the employers associations. Then we have collective agreement. Collective agreement, employers, organizations, and trade unions. So that is the agreement between those two parties, where we are talking about trade unions who are representing the employees, as well as employee organizations who are representing the organizations. Dispute means the disagreement between the employer and employee. So those are the disputes. Bargaining councils is formed by registered trade unions and employee organizations in order to prevent or resolve the disputes. That one is bargaining councils. Employment Equity Act, EEA, that is an act. The main aim of this act is to ensure that there is equal job opportunities that are given to all employees, to all peoples, regardless of race, cultural, language, age, religion, and disability. So all this act is all about the equality, regardless of whether you are young, you are old, whether you are white or you are black, but there should be an equality at workplace whereby every employee is treated equally. Affirmative action. It was designed to ensure that suitable, qualified, previously disadvantaged individuals are given job opportunities. Affirmative action forms part of Employment Equity Act. So that is affirmative action whereby we are making sure into account. So that is affirmative action. So now we have this act which is called BCEA, Basic Conditions of Employment Act. The act sets out the minimum standard of employment in order to promote fair labor practice. So the BCEA, whenever you see this act, make sure that this is where we are going to talk about the leaves. We are going to talk about the remuneration of the employees, that they are getting fairly payment in the workplace. They are not cheated. Then we have the occupational compensation for occupational injuries and diseases. The act gives employees who are injured or contact diseases while on duty right to claim compensation. So if ever the employee finds he or herself injured at workplace, so this act is very much protecting the such an employee. Then we broad-based economic and employment act. The act was introduced in order to ensure that full economic participation of previously disadvantaged individuals, very at disadvantage previously. So this act makes sure that those people are very much accommodated. So that is very important, whereby those black people, they will find themselves into those senior positions, whereby they can all be, they can as well be the managers. Then we have National Credit Act. The act was introduced to protect consumers against unfair and reckless credit granting by a business. So the employees will be able to make sure that they have right to get credit. Credit providers, all business that offer goods on service on credit. That one is trade fraud. Now we have National Credit Regulator, which is NCRA. It's responsible for the regulation of the South African credit industry. This means that all business that offer credit and service on credit must be registered with the NCRA. So all the businesses that offer credit, they make sure that they act. That is very important. Debit review or debt cancelling. This debt resolution targeted to South African consumers who are over indebted and struggling to manage their finances. So this act will help them to make sure that they will be Protection Act. The main of this act is to promote and protect the interest of the consumers by providing them with the information so that they make sure that they are informed with the choices. So that is very important. The act makes sure that they protect the consumers. Compliance, acting according to the set rules. So all these acts that you're going to do, they have what you call the compliance, whereby we know how are we going to say you've complied with the act. So if ever you don't comply with the act, there are penalties that you're going to face, whereby it's a punishment of doing something that is against a law. So disciplinary actions, treating a person or people differently from the way in which you treat other people. So those are the definitions, or this is all about what we are going to talk about in module 1, whereby we are talking about the acts. So the first act that we have talked about is we are going to focus on Skill Development Act, SDA. So normally when we are under acts, we are going to talk about the purpose of act. That is very important. Even in the examination, they will ask you about the purpose of the act. What you're going to be asked in the examination. So what is the purpose of this act, which is called the Skills Development Act, where you know very well that you're talking about where we're saying those people who were ignored in the past, who were not be able to access the skills. So the purpose of Skill Development Act is that it develops the skills of people in South Africa in order to improve the act, in order to improve the productivity. So our production to increase, that is when our production will rise. So another purpose of this act is to invest in education and training of the workers. So that is that. Improve the chances of getting a job for previously disadvantaged people who find themselves with necessary skills to get the job. It is with this act that now they will be able to access jobs. It encourages workers to participate in learning programs. So the workers at the workplace who are not skilled them to be able to improve themselves so that they will be equipped with knowledge and skills so that they can be competent to deliver at the workplace. Redress the imbalances of the past through education and training. Whenever we say the redress, the word redress means that those people who were wrongly not being done perfectly, they are now going to be able to get things at the right. So that is why we are saying redress. Wrongly, people are now going to be at the right. Well, so redress imbalances of the past through education and training. So those previously are competent through education and training. So the imbalances, if we can just refer back, we know that the white people were the ones who were able to access education and training in the past. So we also want even the black people to be able to get knowledge and skills. So there will be a balance now. That is why we are saying redress imbalances of the past through education and training. Encourages business to improve skills of their workers. That is simple as that. So we make sure that we encourages business to improve the skills of their employees. Improve the chances of getting jobs for previously disadvantaged. They are now going to be accommodated. They can now access jobs because now they are fit enough to fill in those posts because they are now very much competent. So that will be very, very important to know about it. Now, as you know, there are what you call the impact. Whenever we talk about the impact, you know very much that you're talking about act. You're going to be asked about the impact of the act. So whenever you see the word impact of the word, know that you're talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the act. So now we are going to talk about this, which are the advantages. What are the advantages of this act? So the first advantage that you've talked about, trains employees to improve productivity in the workplace. Skills, it means the production of the workplace is going to rise. That is going to benefit the organization. Also, with this act, whereby you find yourself with necessary skills, this is where we're going to promote self-employment and black entrepreneurship. So whenever you find yourself with knowledge and skills, it means now you can establish or start your own business. That is a very important of this. And training. So what is the return on investment that we are talking about? We have talked about the learnerships that are going to provide it by the sector that we have talked about. So the return on investment, that is whereby we are talking about the outcome. The outcome that you're talking about, this is the competent employees that you're going to find. So this is why we are saying it increases the return on investment in education and training. Business could become globally more competitive. So whenever people are with skills that are very necessary, it means the organization is going to be compete globally. So that is very important. Increase the number of skilled employees in areas where skills were scarce. So whenever we put into this act, it means employees are going to find many employees that are going to be competent where their skills were scarce. Encourage ongoing skill development and learning to sustain improvement on skill development. That is the very important of this act. Improves employment opportunities and labor movement of workers from previously disadvantaged groups. So improves the employment opportunities. So if this act, it means you'll be able to access jobs. So that will make those previously disadvantaged people to access jobs because they will now find themselves with necessary skills to do the jobs. So the skills are very important because those disadvantaged people, they will be now be able to apply for jobs because now they will find themselves with necessary skills to do the job. Workplace discrimination can be addressed through training. You'll find those people who were previously at disadvantage, now they are skillful. So it simply says that will make sure that the discrimination will be totally avoided. That is very important of this act. So the discrimination will be totally avoided because now these people will find themselves with necessary training. Now workplace is used as an active learning environment where employees can gain practical job experience. So this is the positive side of this act. It's very important to know. You'll find that this act, they sometimes come into much more in detail. Now we come to the negative side. As you know that I've said earlier on that whenever we talk about the impact, you're talking about the positive side as well as negative sides. So what are the negative sides of this act, Skill Development Act? It increases cost as the process requires large amount of paperwork. So that paperwork that you're going to go through, you'll find that now is going to come with the cost, which is going to be.
The implementation of SDA can be difficult to monitor and control. So you find that it's very difficult to control the implementation of this act, whether the business now they are complying with this act or not. Because some other business, they may kid, whereby you find that the programs that they are providing or they are offering, they are not responding positively to what are the needs of these employees. So that is why it becomes a disadvantage. Skills programs may not always address training needs of the employees. The programs that are offered by the organizations, you'll find that they are not relevant to what are the needs of these employees. So you'll find that employees are doing what is not responding to their needs. So that is why we're saying skills programs may not always address the training of the employees' needs. Also, skill development levy could be an extra burden to financial struggling business. Those businesses that are struggling, this levy that they are to pay to the sector, you'll find that they are very much a problem to those businesses that are struggling, because they are now to part ways with their income to pay that levy, whereby you'll find that their profits are not even okay. That is why we are saying it's a disadvantage. It may be monitored and controlled by government departments that do not have education and training as their key priorities. You'll find that those people there in the government who are now the ones who are given the responsibility to monitor and control this, they are not finding the training as their key priorities. So that will make a problem when we are trying to make the effectiveness of this act. Setters may not be well organized. The many courses offered by companies may not have unit standards that relate to course content. So we find that the content is not enough because of the disorganizing of the setter. Many services providers that offer training services are not SACA accredited. So we find that they are not accredited, so which is a problem again. Many businesses may not support this government initiative. Once they don't support this government initiative, it simply says they are not going to comply with this act. And thus, they will not be providing good services to their employees. Employees are expected to attend learnership during work hours, which could affect the production process and productivities. So employees now, they are to attend learnerships. So if they are to attend learnerships, what is happening to the production? It means if they are out to study and to do those learnerships, it means the production is now at hold. They have stopped the production. So that is why it's affecting the production of the business. Costly for business to employ a person to implement or manage and control learnership. So business, they are to appoint someone who's going to make sure that there is an implementation of this process. So by so doing, it now is going to be forced to incur some expenses to pay such a person that they are going to appoint to make sure that there is an implementation. The time and the money spent on improving employee skills is wasted if the employees leave the business. So we find that after making sure that these employees are going to get a proper training, whereby they're going to find themselves with knowledge and skills, after that, they will leave the organization. So it means we have wasted our time. Also, we have wasted even the money that we have spent to make sure these employees is competent. So that is very important. So now we are to go to discrimination according to this act, SDA, Skill Development Act. Preventing employees from signing for a learnership due to age or position in the workplace is a discrimination. Unfair development skills and training to certain employees. So if there is an unfair development of skills or training employees, that is a discrimination. Developing workplace skill plan which exclusively caters for certain race or gender. So if the workplace skills plan is excluding other people or race or prioritizing senior management for training and skill development, and that is as well what a discrimination. Now we are to go to what is very important, and that is act, or this the marks that are carried out by this are normally they are 6 marks. They are 6 marks, whereby now you have to mention only 3 points under discrimination. So it carries 6 marks. And compliance. If ever the organization, the enterprise, business is not complying with this act, what are the penalties that they are to face? So if business do not pay skill development levy, may not offer learnerships. We did talk about the learnership. We did talk about this levy, where we said the levy is the money that you are going to pay to setters, so that you as an organization will be able to provide what the learnership or the programs, training programs. So if you are not, if ever you do not pay this levy, you are not going to be allowed to provide the learnerships. So it simply says you are not going to be able to claim the grants from the SDA. Labor inspector could order the business to stop operating should the business be found guilty of illegal practices. So the business will stop if ever they are not complying with this act, because the labor inspectors are the ones who are going to do that. So it is as well very important to take note of that. Those are the penalties that the business is going to face. Normally, the marks that are carried out, but this act is only 4 marks, whereby you just mention only 2 points under penalties. So what are the ways in which the business can comply with this act? How are we going to say now you have complied with the act? Employers who called pay SUN should register with SETAs. Employers who called pay SUN should register with SETA. Don't forget that you have said, what is this SETAs? Sector Education Training Authority. That is very important. Then we are talking about payee, pay SUN. So make sure that you register with this SETA. That is very important, pay SUN. So 1% of employees' payroll has to be paid over the SETA. That is the levy that we have talked about. That is the levy that we have talked about. Organization have to pay 1% of their payroll to SETAs. They have to pay that amount. In return, the SETA is going to give them what? The grants. Those grants that they are going to be given by SETAs, they are the ones that are going to allow the business to do what? Trading of the learnerships. That is very important. Business should register with SARS in the area in which business is classified in terms of what? Of SETA. So business are to register with SARS. Employers should submit. It's very important to know what is this all about. Workplace skills plan. It's very important. Workplace skills plan. So you find that business, they can lie employees. So the SETA wants to know what are those plans. They want to know that the skills that you're going to provide, they are going to respond positively. So that evidence is very important. Before you can get the grant from the SETA, you need to submit the workplace skills plan. So that workplace skills plan is going to be approved by the SETA. So they are going to make sure that this is really that you're going to give to the employees. Business with more than 50 employees must appoint skills development facilitator. So this one is only applies to employees that are more than 50 employees. So they appoint, this is very important. Assess the skills of employees to determine the areas in which skills developments are needed. So we are going to only attend to the needs of the employees. So for us to make sure that we have attended to the needs of the employees, that is why we can assess their skills. So by assessing their skills, you're going to find out what are the current skills that the employees they find themselves with, and as well as what as organization we want to assess their skills so that we determine where they lack, so that we can bridge that gap. Encourage employees to participate in learnership and other training programs. So you as an organization, make sure that you encourage the employees to participate in the learnership so that they find themselves competent enough to deliver at workplace. Provide employees with the opportunity to improve their skills. So you provide all employees with the opportunities so that they improve their skills. So make sure that the such opportunities are there for employees. Business also should register with relevant sectors. Like we have said, we have so many different sectors: agri sector, food and beverage sectors, education sectors. So make sure that the sector that you are registering with is relevant to what you're going to provide. So that is very important. So this question always carries about 8 marks. So you have to provide 4 points under that act. Is based on how you're going to comply with this act. Now we are coming to the role and function of SETA. Like I've said, I will always remind you about SETAs, whereby you say sector education training authorities. What are their functions that are provided by this sector? So the first function is they report to Director General. They report to Director General. It's very important to know that. They promote and establish learnerships. So setters are the one who establish learnerships. They are the one who give the accreditation to organization to provide learnerships. They collect levies and pay out grants as required. You know the levies that we have talked about, the 1% that is paid out by the organizations. So business who paid out that 1%, in return, they are going to get out the grants from the setters so that they can provide trainings to their employees. So these setters also provide the accreditation for skill development facilities. They are the ones who are going to make sure that they are going to give you the go ahead for the organization to provide skills and training to employees. So they are the ones. Also register learnership agreements and learning programs. So they are the ones who are going to register the learnerships. Approve workplace skills plans and annual training reports. We talked about the workplace skills plans that are submitted by the organizations. So they are approved by setters. Setters are the ones who approve those workplace skills plans, that these skills plans are going to respond to the needs of the employees. They also monitor and evaluate actual training by service providers. That is that. Also set allocate grants to employers, education and training providers. The grants that you have talked about, that you have said for you to qualify to get a grant, it is only whereby you have paid what? The 1% that you have talked about, that is paid by who? By the employers. So who's going to allocate those grants? The setter to those training providers. Oversee training different sectors in South Africa of the African economy. So they are the ones who oversee the training in different sectors. Develop skills plans in line with the national skill development strategies. SETA is the one who develop the skills plans, which they are going to make sure that those skills plans are in line with the NSD, which is National Skill Development. SETA also draw up skill development plans for specific economic sector. That is that. The sector, the SETA is the one that draw up those skills development plans. They also provide training materials and programs for skill development facilitators. So those training programs are provided to companies that are complying with the requirements of the Skill Development Act. So SETA cannot pay out the grants if ever you're not complying with the Act. They are making sure that you are complying with the Act. That is when they can pay out the grants to the organization. SETA also promote learnerships and learning programs by identifying suitable workplace for practical work experience. Promote learnerships and learning programs by identifying suitable workplaces for practical work experience. So they make sure that they go and identify and make sure that there is what the work experience. They identify suitable workplaces for practical work experience, so that they know for sure that those places are going to respond to what is needed. So these questions or this topic, whereby it carries about 10 marks. So that is the value of this topic. How is SETA funded? How is SETA going to get the funds? Where are they going to get the funds from? So for SETA to get funds, they are going to make sure that they get it from the levies that we have talked about. Remember, we have said the employers are going to pay what? The 1%. So now they are saying skill development levies paid by the employers. Example, 80% is distributed to different setters, and whereby 20% is paid into the National Skill Fund. So it makes 100% all in all. So the 80% is whereby it's going to agri sectors, is going to go to farming, is going to go to educational sector and all stuff. So that is that. They also get funds from the donations and grants from the public. Also, they get their funds from government institutions. Also, they get funds received from rendering their services. So this is how the SETA is funded. So that is as well very important. That is as well very important. So these ones, it carries 4 marks. Normally, they only want 2 points from this sector. So now we are to go to skill development strategy and human resource development strategy. So which this one normally is not that much important, because normally they don't ask it, this kind of question. But for knowledge purposes, it's very important to know about this. National Skill Development Strategy and Human Resource Development Strategy. So under the NSD strategy, this is where we encourage good quality training in the workplace to ensure ongoing development of skills. This act, we encourage good quality training in the workplace. So good quality training is the training that is going to respond positively to the needs of what? Of the employees. With this, we are talking about where we are saying we are going to bridge the gap that the employees find themselves with. Also, under NSD, it provides the participation of government, organized business, and labor. It also improves social development through economic development. You all know that whenever the skills are provided, that is going to be very helpful to the economy of the country. It indicates how sector education and training authorities should use the money allocated through skill development levy. That is very important. So again, it indicates how sector education training authorities should use the money allocated from skills development levy. So that is that whereby we are saying how the sector education training is going to be able to allocate that into skill development levy. It increases or improves access to training programs, builds and provides career vocational guidance and training centers. So that is that under NSD development. So coming to human resource development strategies, it addresses skills shortages in South African workforce. It also aims to achieving faster economic growth, higher employment levels, and reduce levels of poverty. That is why this strategy was brought into account, to make sure that people are going to be able to be equipped with a knowledge, so that will make sure that there's going to be employment opportunities, promotes social development and justice, and helps to alleviate what? Poverty. There will be no poverty if ever this strategy is put into action. Develop short-term and long-term workforce skills. So it's going to make sure that they are going to develop short-term and long-term workforce skills. Improve the supply of skills. It's straightforward. Increases employees and participation and lifelong learning. So this is how these strategies are. Now we come to Labor Relation Act. As the word implies, we are talking about the relationship between two parties, employers and employees. Labor Relation Act. So like about the purpose of this act, whereby employers and employees, we are first going to start by the purpose of this act. They are saying it provides framework or structure for labor relations between the employees and employers, where we are going to make sure that there is a healthy relationship between the two parties. There is nothing. Promotes collective bargaining at the workplace. That is very important. It promotes collective bargaining at workplace. So how are we going to make sure that there is a collective bargaining at workplace? This is where we are going to talk about the employer association as well as trade unions, where those two parties are going to be involved to make that there is a good relationship between that. So this act allows that there is going to be a collective bargaining at workplace. Employees in decision employees. The workplace forum simply means that the committee, this act enables that the workers should have their committee. If ever they have some grievances, if ever there are some disputes, so this act allows them so that they can be able to be represented the workplace. So that is very important. Whenever you see this act, know that there is what you call collective bargaining, which is employers, association and trade unions. There is what you call workplace forums. That is a committee that is representing what the employees were in the workplace, if ever they have some decisions that they want to make. Also, this act enables cause of labor costs as well as labor appeal costs. The act also promotes simple procedures for the registration of this act, enables the organizations to make sure that it's not going to deny the employers to have the representatives, which is trade unions. Whereas them, they are going to be represented by the employers' organizations. So both parties, it means they are going to have what? Representatives. This act also provides the right to lock out by the employer as a reaction to lengthy strikes. So if there are strikes, so this act give the right to employers to make sure that they are going to keep the employees out of their premises, as they are trying by all means to solve what? To solve the issue. So it gives them the right to lock out the employees out of their premises while they are busy trying to come up with the solution on the strike. Also, the act promotes fair labor practice between employees and employees. So it makes sure that there is a good relationship, like we've said. Employment contracts between the existing as well as the new employees. That is a very important part of this act. Also advances economic development and social justice or labor practice to ensure that the workplace maintains the basic rights of the employees, whereby we make sure that the employees are taken into consideration. That is in short what this point wants to clarify. Establish the commission for CCMA for dispute resolution. So the CCMA is also invited to make sure that they are going to make sure that there is a solution.
Okay, and then if ever we are moving on, as I've told you that this is a combination of teachers in this instinct, you can go even on our shortage of giving the platform, whereby we are saying that we have said that matriculated plus special workers and teachers whom are qualified. And then in this instinct, we are saying that we can prove it to you, that instinct indeed that is a specialization, and whereby we have this introduction of the business studies, whereby we are saying that we have got one of our visitors to say this particular platform has got the integrity in terms of grade 12 is taken into advantage, and that is coming from the Department of Education to emphasize that matter. So we are saying that this is going to be very important in pertaining your term force work. You need to refer back, and then please note under this we are having the impact of the LRA, and then we are saying these are the labor related issues. We are saying that in this aspect we are checking on the positive aspect. Remember that previously we have engaged in the negative aspect, whereby the professor was also giving us intakes on that, and he was saying that under the delegation of authority we are going to ensure that we are promoting. It promotes also a healthy relationship between the employer and employees. Please bear in mind that there should be a positive correlation between the two aspects, because of they see into contact in terms of longer hours. We would even show off saying that the informal relationship, it also develops between the employer and employees, but we are not denying the fact that the work should be done without failure. But it has been proven in times that the informal relationship, whereby the information can be even shared on the social media platforms, WhatsApp groups, can be proven as a productivity to a company. We must not give that a discretion. Indeed, that we can see that it promotes a healthy relationship amongst the two, and also have got a positive impact on the productivity of the entity, whereby we can see that it protects the rights of the business in the labor-related issues. Sometimes there are conflicts which can derive between the employer and employees, but we are given privileges to ensure that we can lodge grievances between the two, which can be taken into articulation. And then we are saying that these rights must be exercised without failure. And then we can even say that we can give that a mark. Let us allocate now and give the remaining between two parties. You would find out sometimes between the state organs, those disputes, they can be settled without going to the court, because of there's a positive correlation between two state organs. But sometimes if it goes to a court, you must find it is an impact that it is then we are saying that it is less expensive sometimes, but we are saying that these disputes can be in more in terms of expensive if ever you did not acquire a lawyer into the protection of the employers who embark the lawful lockouts when negotiation between parties fail. Sometimes remember that we've got workers that are not competent in such of education background. We don't defy the fault that they qualify in terms of working. One of the examples that I can work in that workplace of mine, it is articulated to say that if ever you are to qualify as a cleaner, the age is taken to. Sometimes when you are in the negotiation, in signing contracts, you find out superiors and then people whom they know law very well. they sometimes suppress those that they don't know the law very well, a party. So sometimes we are saying that the protection of the employers should be taken into consideration. And then one of the key concepts that we must understand again, it is to provide the principles of the collective bargain. These bargains, they should not be in terms of singular form, but they should be in a distinctive that they are collected. We are saying that parties, when they come together, and then as a class, we are a collective class right now as you are listening. We are saying that grade 12 is a collective bargaining. So they bargain, they want their efforts to be taken into consideration. And then we are saying that and it puts structure in place in which it is settled. Sometimes there's no necessity to approach the court, but we are saying that some of the verdicts can be settled in the workplace. And then let us take note of it provides a specific guidelines, for examples, to correct and a fair disciplinary procedure. So we are saying sometimes you don't have the authority as you are a junior worker to your commander. Let us take a consideration in a basic overview in terms of the example that we can make. If ever your superior is continuously harassing you in the workplace, yes, indeed, you don't have the authority over him in terms of the formal work procedures that must be taken into consideration. But according to the terms of the unfair labor practice or unfair conducts that can be taken to consideration. So we are saying that these disciplinary procedures, they must be followed without any failure. And then let us understand that employers and employees they've got the guideline, and these are the policies. We are saying that policies are the declaration of intent to do something or to have it done. We must understand that our basic constitution, it is a guideline in the country as a whole. And in this instinct, we are talking about regarding the correct, fair dismissal procedure. You don't just dismiss someone in an organization, but you've got to have realities which are proven beyond all reasonable doubts to ensure that the particular employee can be dismissed. And then let us talk about the provision of the mechanisms such as the Statutory Council Collective Bargaining or CCMA. This is the board that is appointed to regulate. When we are saying regulation, we are saying to control. And then we are talking about the employers are entitled to compensation for the result of the unprotected strike. Let us make one of the basic interview overview whereby you are asked in your workplace to go to work, or then perhaps when you are finishing your grade 12, you can work for the company, and then you would find that under the strikes, you are given the procedure to say that you can come to work, but as a result, you get injured. And then you find out you are not protected with that particular act. And then we are saying that you should not allow that. So during strikes, you must stick to the guidelines, which are the constitution, which we have entailed in the Labor Act. And then we are saying that the workplace forums, we have said that this is the collective group which is appointed. The forum is a committee, and then it can add value to the business if it functions properly. And then we are saying it can go to a maximum. Now we want to go to the maximum of 20 marks. We want you to study all of marks can it go. And then if ever we can move on again, let us understand that we have the negatives, which are called the disadvantages. We are saying that the productivities, if the employees are allowed to participate in the activities of the trade unions during working hours or worked time. Remember that the trade unions, they are the representatives of the employees in the business. And then we are seeing the labor increases because of the illegal strikes. And then it also have the negative impact on the productivity. The more strikes are occurring in the business entity, the less productivity it occurs. So yes. And then let us talk about the reduced global competitiveness due to the lower productivity that can occur. And then if ever it's globally, remember that we've got means of foreign exchange, whereby we are trading also the goods and the services that are offered in the country. But if ever now in South Africa, we cannot trade gold as a primary product, then it means globally we will suffer. And then we are talking about the employers may have to disclose information about the workplace issues and to the union representatives that could be core. Let's talk about the weight competitive advantage. We are saying that if ever, for example, you can find two stores selling the same product at the same price, but you find that one out of these store is getting the sales more than the other one. We are selling the very identical product. Let us take an example. We are selling a sweets for R1, the same brand, same price at the very same location. but what is it that the other one would do to attract more customers? We are saying that he has that a competitive advantage over you. It can be an internal competitive advantage whereby the building or the music that he or she plays in the store would attract customers in us. And then let us talk about the employers may not dismiss employees, and it will produce to be allowed to be followed. And then let us move on and talk about some businesses may feel that power as it creates the lengthy procedures. An example, it can be the consulting work forums. We are saying that this committee, and then let us understand that employers may not get the court interdict. They have prohibitory interdict. So we regard to such as if ever a person is harassing you, so you are prohibiting that particular person not to come near you. And then we've got that a normal court interdict, which is a summon. It says that you must appear in court at a certain date at a certain time, and then to stop a strike. So we are saying that if ever this is happening, the business is at the strike to interdict or to take place, is given a notice. And then this is why you are finding now this next point saying that the strikes action will always result in lost productivity or the production for which the employers may not claim. That is a negative aspect now. And then we are saying some trade unions may not promote the mandate. What is the mandate? If ever we are talking about the mandate, we are saying that as an entity or as an organization, we are mandated now to a certain task of activities, and then we are mandated now to certain things that can come to us. And then we are saying, if ever this happens, there is a mandate that is taking place. Let us not forget about that. And then if ever we are moving on, let us understand now the key concepts. And then we can see that those they can be the effects. And then many employees and employers who do not understand the Labor Relation Act, they may be also affected in this instinct. And then it is for a maximum now of web aspects. We are saying that the labor disputes and or time consuming, and it can lead to decrease of productivity or the discriminatory actions according to the this LRAA. And then we are saying this Labor Relation Act, they promote the interest of the one trade unions over the others in the workplace. And number two, they dismissing employees from the racial group participated or engaged into the illegal strike action. And then they allow only the particular gender or the gender group or to be part of the workplace forum. And then we are saying they granting the leaves to attend unions or meetings or activities, programs only to the side steward or the union's representatives. And then it can be for 8 marks. And then if ever we are moving on about the penalties for the non-compliance, which we did there previously. And then ensure that you are hitting the subscription button. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you very much for your listening. Hit the subscription button. Thank you.